Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Today, we're stepping back in time, not just to any day, but to one of the most pivotal moments in human history, the Ides of March, 44 BC. This wasn't just another day in the Roman calendar, it was the day the Republic held its breath, the day loyalty was tested, and the day the most powerful man in the world, Gaius Julius Caesar, met his bloody end. Imagine the scene: the Grand Hall, not the famous Senate house which was under reconstruction, but a temporary meeting place, the Curia of Pompey. Sunlight streams through the high windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. The air is thick with the murmur of voices, the rustle of togas, and a tension you could cut with a knife. Over 60 senators are present, each a powerful figure in their own right. And at the center of it all sits Caesar, the perpetual dictator, the conqueror of Gaul, the man who seemed more god than mortal. He's just returned from a triumphant military campaign and holds unparalleled power. To many, he's a hero, a reformer who champions the common people. He has passed laws to redistribute land to the poor and has given citizenship to people in the provinces. He's charismatic, brilliant, and seemingly unstoppable. But to others, his ambition is a terrifying threat. They see his statues erected, his face on coins, and his ever-growing list of titles, and they don't see a savior, they see a king in all but name. And in Rome, the word king was poison, a throwback to a tyrannical past they had fought to escape centuries ago. This fear is the spark that ignites the conspiracy. The senators who gather around Caesar on this fateful morning aren't just a random mob. They are the Roman elite, men who call themselves the liberators. They believe they are acting not out of jealousy, but out of a sacred duty to preserve the Roman Republic. They see Caesar dismantling the very foundations of their society, replacing the rule of law and the Senate's authority with his own personal decree. Among them is Gaius Cassius Longinus, the brilliant but bitter military man who held a deep-seated grudge against Caesar. He is the fiery engine of the plot. But the conspiracy needs a face, a symbol of old Roman virtue that could justify the unthinkable. And they find it in Marcus Junius Brutus. Brutus is a complicated figure. He wasn't just any senator. His own ancestor, centuries earlier, had famously expelled Rome's last king. The name Brutus was synonymous with republican liberty. Caesar genuinely loved Brutus, treating him almost like a son, promoting him and forgiving his past allegiances. This makes Brutus's decision all the more tragic. He is torn between his personal affection for Caesar and what he believes is his patriotic duty. He is a philosopher, a student of Stoicism, and he convinces himself that killing one man, his friend, is a necessary sacrifice to save the Republic for millions. His involvement gives the conspiracy a veil of legitimacy it desperately needs. So, on the morning of March 15th, the plan is set in motion. Caesar almost doesn't attend the Senate meeting. His wife, Calpurnia, had a terrifying nightmare of holding his murdered body and begs him to stay home. There were other omens, too. A soothsayer had famously warned him to beware the Ides of March. But Caesar, ever conscious of his public image, couldn't be seen to be swayed by superstition or a woman's dreams. One of the conspirators, Decimus Brutus, not to be confused with Marcus Brutus, persuades him to go, mocking his fears and reminding him of the Senate's agenda. As Caesar enters the Curia of Pompey, the senators rise in respect. He takes his gilded chair. The conspirators have their roles. One of them, Tullius Cimber, approaches Caesar with a petition, supposedly pleading for his exiled brother to be allowed to return to Rome. This is the signal. Cimber kneels, grabbing Caesar's toga. It's a gesture of supplication, but its real purpose is to pin Caesar's arms, preventing him from defending himself. Caesar, annoyed, tries to wave him off, saying, "This is violence." But it's too late. Another conspirator, Casca, who is positioned behind Caesar, pulls out a dagger. He lunges, aiming for the throat, but, in his nervousness, only manages to strike Caesar's shoulder. Caesar spins around, shocked. He cries out in Latin, "Vile Casca! What are you doing?" He grabs Casca's arm and stabs him with his stylus, a sharp writing tool. For a brief moment, the most feared general in the world fights back. But then, the others descend. It's a frenzy. Senators, his supposed peers, draw daggers hidden in their togas and swarm him. He is completely surrounded, a lion cornered by jackals. He tries to cover his face with his toga, a final act of dignity, not wanting anyone to see him die. In the chaos, he sees a familiar face approaching, dagger in hand. It's Brutus. His Brutus. The man he had mentored and loved. The ancient historian Suetonius tells us that when Caesar saw Brutus, he uttered his famous last words, not in Latin, but in Greek, the language of the educated elite, Haisu, tenon. You too, my child. The fight goes out of him. If Brutus, the symbol of Roman honor, wanted him dead, then his death must be just. He collapses at the foot of a statue of his former rival, Pompey the Great. An ironic final resting place. The liberators continue to stab the lifeless body, some even accidentally wounding each other in their bloody fervor. In the end, the autopsy would reveal 23 stab wounds, though only one, to the chest, was fatal. In the immediate aftermath, there's silence, then panic. The other senators who weren't part of the plot flee in terror. Brutus tries to address the empty chamber, holding up his blood-soaked dagger, proclaiming that tyranny is dead. But there is no applause, only the echo of his own voice. The conspirators march out into the forum, shouting liberty, freedom. Tyranny is dead. But the people of Rome don't rush to celebrate. They are confused, scared. They lock their doors. They had loved Caesar. The liberators made a catastrophic miscalculation. They thought that by killing the man, they could kill his legacy and restore the Republic. But they had no plan for what came next. They had removed the head of the state but created a power vacuum that was far more dangerous. Caesar's will was read to the public, and it revealed he had left his gardens to the people of Rome and a sum of money to every single citizen. This act of generosity, even in death, turned public opinion violently against the assassins. At his funeral, Caesar's loyal right-hand man, Mark Antony, delivers a masterful eulogy. He doesn't directly condemn the conspirators, who are still powerful. Instead, he reads Caesar's will and points to the bloody toga and the brutal wounds, stirring the crowd into a riotous mob demanding revenge. Brutus and Cassius are forced to flee Rome. The assassination, meant to save the Republic, instead plunged it into more than a decade of brutal civil war. In the end, the Republic was never restored. The power vacuum was eventually filled by one man, Caesar's own grandnephew and adopted heir, a teenager named Octavian. He, along with Mark Antony, hunted down and defeated every one of the conspirators. Brutus and Cassius both took their own lives. Octavian would eventually outmaneuver Antony, consolidate all power for himself, and become Augustus, Rome's first true emperor. The very thing the assassins had killed Caesar to prevent, they had inadvertently brought about. Caesar died a dictator, but his death paved the way for the Roman Empire, a system that would last for centuries. So, was Brutus a hero or a villain? Was Caesar a tyrant or a savior? History doesn't give us easy answers. The story of the Ides of March is a timeless lesson about power, ambition, and the unpredictable consequences of our actions. It is a reminder that even acts done with the noblest intentions can lead to the darkest outcomes. Thank you for joining me on this journey back to ancient Rome. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the greatest moments in history. See you next time.